Hi there, Cliff fans, and welcome to another one of my polls, another top 10. And yeah, I done a poll a couple of years ago of my favourite Cliff covers, or the best Cliff covers out there. But they weren't, I didn't choose the 10 songs that were in the top 10. I put it to my Facebook page, which is called Cliff Richard Fans. Check that out if you haven't. Um, I put it to all the fans on that page, asking them what their favorite cover by Cliff was, and they chose the top 10. And so I thought, I've never done my personal choices of for my favorite covers, but I just went through some of the tracks, and even the first album was just totally covers, and the second album was totally covers, and Cliff continued to do covers right through his career. Yeah, so I kind of to make it easier on myself, I gave myself two rules, and the first one is they all have to be singles, and the second rule is that they all have to be big hits by other artists as well. So that's how I chose my top 10. And there's a few Cliff singles that were released over the years as well that I don't think people realize were actually covers, because they weren't big hits by the original artists, so they won't be included. Songs like Peace in Our Time was a cover that was actually covered twice before Cliff got his hands on it in 1992, and Cliff had the biggest hit with it. So I'm not including that because Cliff had the biggest hit with it. And My Pretty One as well. I think 1985 or 1987 that was released by a singer called Jamie Ray, and it was produced by Alan Tarney. The whole backing track sounded exactly like Cliff's version, but Cliff voice again brought it to number three. And yeah, so Cliff's our number six, I think it got to number five or six. It got number six, I think. And Cliff made it the big hit that it was. So that's not included either. So yeah, these all these songs were made more famous by other artists, but Cliff put his own stamp on them. So at number 10, I have Somewhere Over the Rainbow. What a Wonderful World. Two absolutely fans. I think Somewhere Over the Rainbow was voted the song of the century in the year 2000. Yeah, just an absolute fantastic track. What a Wonderful World, obviously by Louis Armstrong. Absolutely love that track as well. And the two songs were um, mashed together by a Hawaiian singer who I cannot pronounce the name, but everybody knows that little ukulele version that he did, and he made it a big hit as well. So yeah, so that's my number 10, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. What a Wonderful World. Just Cliff's absolutely fantastic. Number 9 was originally a hit for Johnny Mathis in the late 50s or early 60s, and it's The 12th and Never. Absolutely beautiful song. Love Cliff's original version. I'm not crazy about the duet version he does live. He's done the last few tours, he's done a duet version of it, and I'm not really crazy about the duet version. I love the original single, 12th and Never. So that's my number 9. Number 8 is Silhouettes. Absolutely love Silhouettes. It's one of them doo-wop songs that Cliff loves so much from the 50s. And yeah, I don't know who had the original, but Hermits had a big hit with it in the 60s. Yeah, anyway, so that's my number 8, Silhouettes. Absolutely fantastic. Big memory from the event concert as well, because he performed at that for the first time. Number 7 is a duet cover, and it's All I Have to Do Is Dream. Absolutely beautiful, one of the all-time classic love songs by the Everly Brothers, and Cliff recorded it with Phil Everly live back in, I think, 1981 or 1981, and it was released as a single 10 years later in 1991, or 93, maybe 94, somewhere around that time. Maybe 94, I think, because it was part of the hit list. So maybe it was 94. And it got in the top 10. So absolutely fantastic cover of the Everly Brothers. All I Have to Do Is Dream. So that's number 7. Number 6 was voted by the fans as. This got number 1 in the fans' choices, and it's From a Distance. Absolutely love it. I remember in that poll, everybody was saying that it was a Bette Midler cover. It wasn't a Bette Midler cover. It was I can't think who wrote it, but Nancy Griffith had the big hit with it first in 1985, and she made it famous. And actually, Bette Midler and Cliff were both in the top 10 at the same time with the song back in 91. And I think Cliff beat her, got higher in the UK, but obviously Cliff has no records released in America, so she beat him in America. She got the bigger hit in America, but Cliff got the bigger hit in the UK. But Cliff's version of From a Distance, absolutely fantastic, absolutely love it. So number 5 is going back to them rock and roll years, and it's Cliff's cover of Jerry Lee Lewis, It'll Be Me, which Cliff and the Shadows put their own stamp on it. It sounds nothing like Jerry Lee's version. I much prefer Cliff's version. I absolutely love Jerry Lee Lewis, but I always thought Cliff sang this one a lot better. It'll Be Me, just an absolute rock and roll classic. Number 4, another rock and roll classic that Cliff put his own stamp on. It was originally recorded by Johnny Otis, and it's Willie and Hand Jive. Absolutely fantastic track. I love Johnny Otis' version, and Cliff and the Shadows again put their own stamp, and it was always a big part of the Cliff and the Shadows show as well when they did concerts. And yeah, it was a big part of they did it at the Royal Variety Show in 2008, and they performed it as part of the reunion tour in 2009. So yes, just a big part of the Cliff and the Shadows set. Willie and Hand Jive, absolutely love it. So number 3 is one that the fans didn't even put in their top 10 favourite Cliff covers, and which shocked the life out of me, because I think this is one of Cliff's absolute classic covers, and it's Daddy's Home. Absolutely beautiful song. One of my favourites of all time. Daddy's Home, number 3. So number 2 is another one, absolutely beautiful song, and it's True Love Ways. Absolutely beautiful song, beautiful cover of Buddy Holly's classic. And yeah, I think I slightly prefer it to Buddy. I love Buddy Holly's version, but I think I prefer Cliff's live version. So number 1 again was not picked as a cover. Maybe people didn't know it was a cover. I don't know, but it wasn't picked by the fans in their top 10. But I have it number 1 because I think this is an absolute classic track, and it's Do You Want to Dance? And it was written by Bobby Freeman, who had a big hit first with it in, I think, maybe the late 50s. I know a lot of people covered it. The Beach Boys covered it. Del Shannon covered it. Yeah, loads of artists covered it. John Lennon covered it on his rock and roll album as well. And but I love Cliff and the Shadows version. Cliff and the Shadows version is my absolute favourite, just an absolute classic. And it was actually Bobby Freeman's favourite version as well, because he was asked, I don't think he ever met Cliff and the Shadows, but in the 60s, just after Cliff had the hit with it, a journalist asked him what his favourite version of the song was, and he said some guy in England recorded, I think his name is Cliff, recorded the song, and that's my absolute favourite version of it. So yeah, so that's a big I'd say that was great for Cliff to hear that as well. I know he's mentioned that in interviews, but yeah, so that's my number 1. Do You Want to Dance? So I thought I'd give you another. I haven't done a Cliff poll in a while. I've kind of concentrated on other artists just to put something else on the page, and I done top 10s of the Beatles stuff and Creed and stuff, and rock and roll stuff, and so I thought I'd go back to my first love, which is Cliff Richard records. So that's my top 10 favourite Cliff covers of all time. So I'll give them real quick again. Somewhere Over the Rainbow, 12th and Never, Silhouettes, All I Have to Do Is Dream, From a Distance, It'll Be Me, Willie and the Hand Jive, Daddy's Home, True Love Ways, and Do You Want to Dance is my number 1. So if you have any comments, leave them in the section below. If not, thank you and bye.